Good morning. Welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11. And on Twitter, you can find me at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, Tuesday the 9th. Looks like we have a 10-game main slate on both sites. A couple of decent options, and then a bunch of so-so do I really have to options, unfortunately. But let's take a look here. At the top, we have Otani versus Framber Valdez. Both guys definitely in play. Framber, the king of quality starts, and obviously Otani, full of huge K potential. Some walk issues at times, but obviously the best SP on the slate. They take each other on. I believe the game has a total of 7.5 right now. Pretty much ideal spot for both. I shouldn't say ideal because they could be facing much weaker offenses, but uh, two guys that should be pretty popular in our MME builds. I'm not sure how many people are going to pair them together. It does limit your upside now, understand, because obviously you can only get one win out of the two, but uh, two strong pitchers using over 22K of your 50K salary is a little aggressive to not be able to get both wins, but I'm sure some of my builds will have them paired together. I won't really go through and adjust the ones that do come out paired together. So, but definitely the two options at the top. Two more guys that I will be considering here: Logan Webb and George Kirby. Webb gets to take on a weak Washington offense that just came out and had picked up 7 hits and 5 runs in the first inning against DeSclafani. Uh, Actually sent me to bed early once I saw that. Webb is a better pitcher than DeSclafani. Webb has been solid over his last 3 starts. Not spectacular, but very solid. Decent, all season long. There's some K upside. Much better at home. Shockingly, he has allowed 4 home runs at home, but I expect that to kind of even out as the season goes on. Pitching at night in San Francisco, the park play is even bigger. You're going to see, if you look at weather, San Francisco games here right at the bottom. Uh, Wind is almost always blowing out in San Francisco. Opposite of like Wrigley, where Wrigley we say it's the park that weather has the largest effect on. San Francisco, the weather has almost zero effect. The way they built the stadium, that wind just doesn't come into play very often. So I'm not too worried about that. So Logan Webb's probably going to be one of my more popular plays, just because he's 9,500. Save a little bit off of one of the guys at the top, but then obviously able to get both W's tonight. With the Otani Valdez matchup, predicting who gets the W out of the two might be a little more difficult. So I'm definitely on the Webb train. George Kirby has been solid pretty much all the season. Texas can score some runs, but Logan Gilbert was dominant early on last night against them. I looked at his final line this morning since I did go to bed before the game ended. Uh, Took the loss, but still was very dominant. Uh, I believe Seattle is a home favorite, and I think the game also has a 7.5 total. Now, totals aren't the end all be all, especially for an individual team total. I rarely, rank my offenses based on just their projected team totals. But uh, Kirby's definitely gonna be up there. We know Texas offense can be a little dangerous, but that's all right. One guy that I'm probably going to continue fading here near the top, Charlie Morton. It's hurt me before. I believe I faded him for sure against San Diego, which wasn't amazing. Uh, but his one dominant start came at home against Miami. Boston's offense is a little more dangerous, and as it warms up in Atlanta, the ball flies a little more. So I'm just not really interested in Charlie Morton at all. Um, so he's going to be my first main fade on the slate. My other One of my other main fades is going to be Andrew Haney. I just I'm always fading him. I faded him in the Kansas City 10 strikeout game. It hurt, but then I faded him against Oakland and 16 and point 7 didn't hurt me at all. Faded him against Arizona 3.7. I'm just gonna continue to fade him because he's not this guy. Like this performance here is gonna be an outlier at the end of the season at this point for Haney. So I'm just not chasing this experience again. So I kind of expect it to be more along the lines of these experiences, and I can get away from those. Even if he puts up 15, I feel fine. So zero interest in Andrew Haney. Giolito's going to be somebody that's going to be popular. I was on the fade early this season. Took me a little bit, and I was on him here against Minnesota. I'm probably going to get on him against Kansas City, even though Kansas City has scored some runs recently, and the game has a higher total. There is some weather around Kansas City right here. Mark in our weather department has some delay risk, and it is a pretty strong hitter rating park right now, which is weird because generally it's a pitcher's park. But I still will have some Giolito, just the way that he's been pitching. Uh, Luzardo probably going to make my pool, but I've been using Arizona a lot against left-handed pitching, so I'm going to have to dig in more to that matchup as the day goes on. But I do like Luzardo's upside at times, but he's not showing a ton of it right now, which could ultimately lead to me going with the fade against with him. So that's one you'll have to check into my notes on site, into the chat with DFS Army to get my thoughts throughout the day on somebody like Luzardo. Kind of going down, there isn't a whole lot to love cheap wise, excuse me. Look at this Flaherty Tyon matchup. Flaherty's been bad. I probably can't do it. Uh, but weather Chicago, sorry, winds blowing in at Wrigley. Uh, Decent spot for pitching, but maybe it'll be Jameson Tyon. He hasn't been overly sharp, and obviously he just returned from the IL, not making a rehab start, so he could be limited to the 60 pitch range. I'm going to guess he threw a little bit on the side, and he might make more than a 15 pitch jump. Generally, we try to think that they're going to increase guys 15 pitches or so. You see early in the year, start one to start two, he did make a 20 pitch jump. So seeing him in the 60s wouldn't shock me, but still, do we want to pay for a guy that's only going to throw 60 to 65 pitches? I just don't know. Most likely not, right? Like the upside's just too capped. But if we get news throughout the day that he is going to somehow make a bigger jump in pitch count, then I'm going to be interested based on the atmosphere at Wrigley. Last night's game turned into a pretty strong pitchers duel, so uh, we did just see it happen in colder weather. So definitely have to at least consider both those guys. But there's a chance that I just don't end up on either of them. Karchman is an intriguing one against Oakland. Not somebody I'm going to make any kind of a priority. But we did see him shut down a strong Toronto offense as far as zero earned runs, 26.4 DK points, pretty strong. Does look like a little bit of an outlier at this point. Somebody that coming into the season I was very strong about because he had such a strong spring as a young guy taking a leap forward, but that just hasn't translated. Solid start last time against Cleveland, but it's still tough. I think he could be a 10 to 15% type play for me tonight, but I don't feel great about it. Uh, Last guy here, Brandon Pfaadt, major league debut was atrocious against a Texas team that was putting up a ton of runs. A lot easier of a matchup against Miami here. So he is going to be in my pool, 4,500. Very interesting for a guy that, you know, has had a lot of hype coming up. So I could see him turning around a little bit, but he's not some smash play like we've had recently with like a Bryce Miller coming up or anything like that. So don't expect Bryce Miller type performance out of a near min price guy, but he is somebody that is going to make my pool. Generally, the other guys that I don't even talk about are gonna make my fades list. You know, but they're ones that I have to kind of see more about matchup wise, and then obviously lineups are a big thing. If we see some pretty watered down lineups out of teams, some guys resting, find out maybe some guys tweaked something last night that could move, any of these guys into my pitcher pool. Walker's a borderline. He just hasn't been striking guys out, but Minnesota strikes out a ton. But as we know from the weather station, there is some weather here in Minnesota that we have to pay attention to. So there we have it. There is the look at pitching today. A little longer video again. If you like what I keep bringing to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, hit the comments. Let me know, what you think of the Otani versus Valdez matchup. If you want to join us at DFS Army, I'll put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, R-A-Z, for 10% off your monthly membership. You can hit me up in Discord with questions that you do have. And as always, best of luck, everybody.